Okay, so much exciting stuff has happened. Let me get the music off here. Today, I'm gonna just do an episode that's gonna be called The Click. The infamous click. We've never really, I've mentioned it, I've talked about it, I've said I was gonna do it, but now we're gonna actually, I bought out a bunch of guns, I'm gonna actually explain the mechanism of the click. It's going to be one of my mechanism videos again. But first off, I said there was some exciting stuff. Somebody finally listened to me about these scrotum hanging magazine M5 pieces of crap. You know what, I'm not even going to wear this. All these years I've tried every brand. I have stuff set up. This is one of the latest ones right here from Pt3. Hate the M5 bottom metal. The proprietary inlet just pisses me off because it's unnecessary crap. And they do it with non-parallel sides, which means that I can't deal with, I have to hand inlet these things, which is, again, retarded. Detest, but if we're doing M5, I've been saying for years, let's at least do it right. Let's offer something. And as I'm moving this stuff around, I'm going to show you. Somebody, well, not somebody, Hawkins Precision has come out in the last month or three with something called, I'm going to pull another one out here, Hunter metal with reasonably, rationally flush magazines. This magazine right here holds, don't care if it holds 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm guessing it holds 2 or 3 down of RUM sized cases. And look at the flushness on that. I just had to rant about, this is a carryable gun. This isn't maybe perfect, but it's freaking fine, alright? This is sweet. I love everything about this. So, let's get some of this stuff off to the side. That's enough of my rant, and that's exactly what it is about. Thank you, Hawkins Precision, for making, this is so right that I'm just so excited. The trigger guard bow hides, you can't hook, it doesn't have a big insert foul message here hanging down to hook on the brush and drop your magazines. It sits flush with your gun, and the magazine sits essentially flush inside of it. And it's hard work to get in here and get it out. This is a beautiful thing. This is awesome. So, put this over here. A bunch of this stuff just came in at the same time I decided to do my clicky video. And I'm just, I am, as normal, I am unprepared. Let's just start with and stop with, I am unprepared. I have no idea if I'm going to get this correct on here or not. But I finally decided, here's the thing. I'm doing some work on this gun I'm calling, I'm not calling it anything. I'm just resurrecting it. I'm referring to it, in my first video when I bring it up, I refer to it as the Revenant, because that's what Revenant means. It means rebirth of a thing dead, pulled from the grave. It's kind of been sitting around for a long time, but this is the first gun. This is the gun where I debuted my, see if I can get the whole thing in there, because I'm fighting it. Check this out. You can see the slivers. Look at the muzzle of the gun. You see those slivers curling off? I recently cut this off and re-ground it, and that crown is so freaking sharp. And for this video I have to run a cleaning rod in and bump out, because what we're talking about is called the click. There's a lot of different names for it, but it is that tendency for a poorly spec'd, not badly built. There are hundreds of really, really well built guns out there that click. Because people get hung up on sizes and minimums and they don't understand what's important, and this has been a problem for many, many, many years. So I'm going to tell it to you. I'm going to explain the click and how to get rid of it using this old gun that was built back during the actual peak of the click days. This gun was built, let's just say prior to 2000. Although there's people building guns to this day that click, which, I'm sorry, that's just dumb. That's just completely ignorant. But here's what happened. I took a 308 case and I shoved the shoulder back a couple hundred thou, and I made an HBR. I've talked about it before. And I ordered up this gun. This fellow cut chambers using my reamer. I owned my own reamer. And I had 2 barrels built for this gun. This is one of them. A while later I bought another gun. We won't talk about who or what it is, but it is a Remington gun, and I had some barrels built for it using the same reamer. Everything to match. This stuff's supposed to be all back and forth. Now, to back up a little bit, I'm going to take this gun out of the picture because I don't really need to show you anything with it right now. In my explanation of the click, I'm going to use some of these props. But understand, I'm a universalist. If I have a PPC, I want to own the reamer, I want to own the die, and I want to be able to just buy barrels for it like you buy tires for a drift car. I don't want to have to dick around, screw around, change, buy new dies, spend tons of money. I want the universality. So I designed and built this case, and the way I did it, this is one of the ones, in this case I didn't call anybody and order a die. I took a plain old factory stock RCBS die, bellied up to the grinder, hacked the bottom of it off, started jamming these shoulders back till I hit 45 grains of water. That was my legal HBR case. So here we are, spec'd right off of a die. Then, I don't remember how I went, oh, I sent that die too. I sent that die off to Kiff. And I said, dude, do a chamber cast, charge me what you gotta do, but take your specs off of this die and build me a reamer off of this die. Which we did. And things were not perfect. That die, which by the way, is probably still, I just realized, this is how I resize my cases because I am 100% about them coming out the same. I have to be able to close that gun like butter. Pull the trigger on an 80,000 PS, 76,000 PSI load. Flick it open, flick it back, put the next one in. Easy peasy. Now, if a human hair got in the chamber inadvertently somehow from somebody not me, of course it wouldn't close because the tolerances are super tight. I do that by using these dedicated high-end, big buck sizing apparatuses. And in this box is all my 30 by 47. This is the original die that I ground off years ago. You can see the grinder marks on there. It's an unmarked, it's a 308, well it's marked up here, RCBS 308 full-length sizing die. I worked with this for a while. And then, once I had all the bugs ironed out, I fired a bunch of cases and I sent them off to Neil Jones, and I had Neil Jones build me fitted, absolute, top of the line dies for this thing. Now understand, all of our matches are perfect on this gun. This die is sized to this die. Everybody hit their numbers. See, there's so many people on the inner tube that are constantly grunting and whining about nobody can do this and nobody can hit my numbers and nobody can... I don't have that with people. I find that the folks in the firearms industry are freaking geniuses. I ask them to do stuff and they just pour it on and they do it. And I can't, I don't get bad barrels, I don't get bad dies, I don't get bad anything. So let's just suffice it to say that this RCB, now that I have the measuring tools and lathes and mills and everything, this die is as straight as any die on the friggin' planet. I've never bothered to stick it in the lathe and clean that bottom up because why? That would be retarded. I chamfered it by running it up against. I grind it off, and on the other side of the grinder, I've got a wire wheel, so I ran it in the wire wheel and I chamfered this edge nicely, so this thing sizes right down to the base, touching the shell holder if I want. So, started with that, moved on to this, sized everything off of a sizing die. Now let's talk about what actually happened. We're going to show you some fitments. Because down the road I had that red, white, and blue gun built, I took this same ring. This was not working well. I thought he had screwed something up. I didn't ever tell him about it, the guy that built it. Art Kachia built this. I never told him that I thought he set the chamber too small, because in my little pea brain I thought about that and said, how could he possibly set a chamber too small? You can't make a reamer cut undersized. So I kept my mouth shut on this so I didn't look like an absolute ignorant butt. Which, hey, for me, that's a win. That's a score. So later, I sent the same reamer off to another builder, and he chambered this barrel onto an action. And I'm just going to take a case now that I have this thing in my hand. I'm going to say that these cases were fired in this gun using this barrel. And I don't even believe they click. They go in tight. Because this is a gun that I retired because this whole chambering system I retired because I started having sizing issues, and and the click was the big one. This one, I open it, that brass is in there tight, does not click. Radially, everything on this is fine. I had another barrel chambered at the same time, for the same gun, by the same guy, marked the same, and again, I can put this in. Now this one sticks. This one would be a little clicky. I put it in there, and boy, I might have to get a screwdriver, my peeps. Same old, nothing changes with me. Always unprepared, get on here, start free banging, and this is what you end up with. So, there we go. Pop, we're out. Not a bad stick. But between these two barrels, if I fire that one, and it's got a fitted neck, and I just fire it and fire it and fire it and never resize it, it goes in and out, and that's the way that's set up. I'm using it. Now when I screw this barrel onto the same gun, it tends to stick because the back of this chamber is a wee bit tighter. This cartridge barely goes into it. And so now I'm going to start showing you why that backward stuff means something and why it works. I take the same case, cut with the same reamer. I put it into my original gun. This is when I first started finding out how can a reamer cut different size chambers. This is before I had a lathe. This is back when I had come out of gunsmithing school, and the stuff that I had done, I had only done one-offs. I had never tried this. This is one of the first guns that I had 5 different chambers for. 2 on this gun, 2 on that gun, 1 on another gun, and I started realizing that no 2 people will cut chambers the same size in the market, generally. And I state that as, that's a bit of a blanket statement, but I'd almost put money on it. In my experience, I've used a lot of gunsmiths and they all cut a different size chamber with the same reamer. I cut the same size all the time. So now I go back to this gun, which is where it all started, and those same cases that I had fired in there before, I get them into here. Not only do they not close, but I can't I can't even get them back out. That first time I didn't push it hard enough. But if I try to go in and close it, they don't come back out. That's why this cleaning rod is in here. I've got to tap them. Oh no! I cried! I dinged! I wrecked the case! That's terrible. I hate dropping a case on the floor. Now, in this case, I am going to keep using these cases, but I'm going to have to take every one of these barrels and rechamber them. I'm going to do it in the lathe because I am a cheapskate. And I know how to dial into a lathe and get this thing back so close that no piece of brass in the world can feel the difference. I can get this chamber dialed into within 1/10 of 3, and I can run in with a single point cutter and recut the back of this chamber where the problem is. And I am going to have to. It's gonna be a bit of a labor of love, and it's gonna be a bit of a pain, but I am going to take these barrels. I don't know if I want to, unless HBR becomes a thing again, I don't know that I want to start this project over and go through the thousands of dollars to get set up with a new reamer for my 30 HBR. So instead, I'm going to make this stuff work. I went to a match one time to watch, and there were 2 guys at the match. One of them ended up winning. The guy that won took 2 steps to size his die. 2 steps to size his brass. He first ran him in, popped the primer, sized the neck, whatever. Then he ran him into something called a body die and squinched the body again a little bit. And I said, what are you doing that for? And he said, well, because I'm clicking. And this is my small base body die, so I do it in, I've got 2 presses set up, and I do my thing, and then I put it in the other one, and I didn't comment on that, but I thought, ooh, you know, that's actually crap. I don't like that at all. So, that's the way that worked, and his gun shot pretty good. So when you look at this case, I'm rolling it around because you've seen me roll a few cases in some videos, and you see a pronounced bulge right here. This one's got the same thing. It's got the same bulge. Clearance is clearance is clearance. This has got, this portion of the case is fatter than the case head, or the base of the case. Yet, it clicks. What clicking is, it's one thing, my people. One single solitary thing. When your bench rest gun or any other gun is clicking, which means you come to the top of the stroke and it hangs up on the ejection stroke, as the cams engage, it's got to break this case loose from the chamber because it's stuck in the chamber. That's all it is. It's stuck in the chamber. I've seen, and this is so idiotic, but it's rednecks doing what they do, which is to fix. I've seen people put grease in their chambers because they're clicking and sticking. Because they're in a match and they're like, I gotta do something. So anyway, I need to explain to you that the one reason that cases hang up is because the chamber in the back is cut too small. And I'm going to show you a chamber. I just tore this barrel off. This is the barrel that we had trouble with. This case starts to hang up about right there. I'm going to see if I can, if I need to. I can't even get it to go in anymore because it's been fired in another chamber, same reamer. That's stuck. That's the click right there. You can hear it click when I pull it out with my finger. Yeah, click. Okay, now here's a way to check this, people. Turn it around and stick it in upside down. Look at the fact that this particular one, I can barely get the case head in. I can barely get this to hang. But I can get it now. It hangs up almost immediately. This case should go in. Here are the 2. This one goes in not even 200 thousandths, and it's done. It's diametrically too large. I put it in this other, and this goes in that far. Boom. Boom. Hopefully you can see the difference. This barrel, chambered with the same reamer by a different high-end gunsmith, is quite a bit fatter. the one also chambered by the same guy on this other gun, is fatter yet. So once cases have been fired in this gun that's laying down here, they no longer go in here without clicking, and I won't have time to go through that. And they no longer go into here at all. Now, we get to the salient point. My dies are sized perfectly. Neil Jones made me an absolutely perfectly and scrupulously sized sizing die. Now watch this. Head of the case, never been touched, can't be touched, hangs out of the gun, will not go in this sizing die. Will not. This case has probably expanded a couple of thou. That's fine. Still holds a primer fine. I'm shooting it. I'm competing. I've never competed with this, but I could compete with this. Put it in from this direction. I mean, it stops way back there. It would size. It'll size all the way down. This whole project fell apart when this die, my RCBS die started to squeak going in, and I was worried about sticking a case. So I ordered Neil Jones. This is really, really good stuff. My problem is simply the fact that I built the whole assembly too small. The base of this case is so small that to get down to proper sizing, the case itself, once it's been shot and seasoned in, grows up to be big enough that it will no longer even enter the sizing die from the back. And when you size it from the front, it starts to size and it squeezes down and it sticks. This die started to squeak and I chickened out and I backed off, and I spent years exploring the odyssey of the click. Why the click? What the click? I've got 3 barrels here, 2 guns. One of them fires smoothly, one of them clicks, and this one doesn't even work. But trust me, the click occurs right here at the base of the case. I'm going to run this up. I've got seconds left here. I'm going to show you. You're going to have to tie this into some of my other videos. But the click occurs right here, which is why sometimes a small base die or a ring die or something that runs a little further down, as long as you still have clearance of the actual brass case head and the actual rim, sometimes you can size this down. We're dealing with half thousandths and we can get rid of the click. But the answer, people, the absolute answer is to size your stuff with a big enough chamber that the brass never grows big enough to click. Then you can size it back down, not stick, everything works. Not ever stick a case in a die.